Hello everyone, welcome to another training tutorial session. And in this session, we are going to have a look at, finally Java 8 lambdas and functional programming. I browsed through a couple of blogs and videos and other tutorials online, and I felt they sort of rushed through, though I'm also very fast at times. But I think this topic needs special attention because if we have not been using lambdas, then using them with Selenium is going to be very troublesome for us. So I thought of describing all of these concepts in the next series of sessions. So let's begin with why lambdas or in turn Java 8 is so popular. Actually, Java 8 could be seen as what Java 5 brought to the world of Java. It brought collection API, and you may have seen lots of examples of collection APIs in my previous tutorials as well as while working with Selenium in Java binding. In the similar way, Java 8 introduces something called Lambda Expression, and this was a bit of introduction of functional programming in Java, which itself is object-oriented programming language, and this brought a major set of changes in terms of how a Java program can be written, and this is why Java 8 is very popular. Well, now Java has reached like 13, 14 and so version, though I doubt that the features which were brought by Java 8, which could be used by masses, are brought by any other Java version so far. So let's see what we are going to learn in this session. I already explained to you why Java 8 is so popular. If you do not know Java yet, then I would suggest you to first browse to the Java Center I have on my blog, which describes all of the basic features of Java programming language before beginning to learn Java 8. And now let's see what is Lambda and all about. So let's begin with the functional interface. So Java 8 has introduced a new concept in terms of interface, which is known as functional interface. You know already what is an interface. Interface is a type of class which does not have an implementation. So here I have a class called animal, an interface called animal, and it has a method called run now. This is an interface and it does not have any implementation. The new thing with Java 8 is that we have an annotation called functional interface. So this annotation lets Java know that this interface is going to have only one method without implementation. So if I, for example, try to write another abstract method here, that is another method without implementation, it will throw an exception. So if I rename it, run now new, you see there's an exception here that says multiple non-overriding abstract methods found. So I can have only one abstract method with functional interface. So I have a functional interface called animal here, and this functional interface is, let's see how it would be, in usual terms, how we would see a class which would want to use this interface, then class would implement it. For example, I have a class called cat which implements this interface. As simple as that. It says override, and the implementation is very simple. It says cat runs. In the similar manner, I have another class called dog which also implements animal interface. So it overrides run now method from animal class, animal interface here, and the implementation is also very simple. It just says dog run. Now let's see some examples of using animal interface. So I have animal example, another class here. Let's not pay attention to lots of other things here. Let's just focus on cat and dog for time being. So let me comment out everything else and we will see them one by one. Something went wrong here. Okay. Yep, everything is fine now. So let us see what we are doing in the animal example class. So I have a main method here, and here I have instantiated an object or created an object of animal class, animal example here, sorry, not animal interface. We cannot instantiate this because this is an interface. We cannot create an object of it. So we create an object of animal example here in the main method here, and then we invoke using the concrete classes which are actually implementing the animal interface. So we have cat and dog here. So what I do here is I just uh, have a method on animal example class which says make it run. And what this method does is this method takes an argument of type animal, which is an interface, and then it calls animal.runNow, which is a method we saw before on animal interface. Now, this method is abstract, so there is no real implementation. So when we are calling make it run, we would be calling it over a specific implementation. So if I go to the first invocation here, what I do, I say I say animal example dot make it run, and I'm passing an object of type cat here. So you see the make it run takes animal, but since cat implements animal, so I can do new cat here because cat is an animal. This is interface, this is polymorphism, and we have seen this in previous Java tutorial session. In the similar manner, I am also invoking make it run again, but this time I'm invoking it using new dog because dog is also an animal. Dog implements animal, we saw it before. And then dog's turn comes. There is another way to invoke make it run method. What we can do is we can implement animal interface using anonymous inner class, which means we implement it using a class which does not have a name. And this is why this class is called anonymous inner class. But if you have a look at the implementation, it gets pretty dirty. For example, this is another invocation of make it run method using anonymous inner class, which implements animal interface, but the whole thing here from opening braces to curly braces, everything is within uh, the method argument. So make it run takes one argument of type animal, and this whole implementation is gone here, which is very, very creepy. And how we implement an interface using anonymous inner class here, we say new animal, like we are creating an instance of this, but we are not creating an instance, and then parentheses, and then opening braces, curly braces, and within these braces we have our implementation of anonymous inner class, which is nothing but implementation of the method which we have in the animal class, which is run now. So you see the override here, run now, and I have a simple print statement here which says I do not have a body but I run fast. So we have three different implementations here. We are calling make it run using cat object, we are calling make it run using dog object, both of them implement animal, and we are calling make it run using anonymous inner class of animal interface, wherein whole of the implementation is gone inside opening and closing parentheses of make it run method. Very, very ugly thing, but let's try to run it and see what happens. So main method, I'll run it from here. Yep. So let's see it one by one. First control comes here and it prints its cat's turn, and then it prints cat runs. Why is it printing cat runs? Because we are calling make it run, and then make it run calls run now, and run now is implemented by say cat, and then it prints cat run. And then we have the control come to the next statement which says dog's turn, and then we have make it run being called using dog. In the similar manner, dog run is printed because when this method is called, it calls run now using docs implementation. And if you go to the docs implementation of animal interface, it has dog runs being printed, and this is why we see dog runs being printed here. So there's nothing miraculous happening here. We have seen this many times in past as well. And now we have another invocation here using anonymous inner class, and what is happening here is we have a specific implementation which is defined within this method parenthesis. It's a horrendous way to write a code. No one would understand what's going on here. Anyways, it's just an example. We would not do it ever again. So what it does is it prints the implementation which we have here for run now method, which is I don't have a method, I don't have a body but I run fast. So it prints I don't have a body but I run fast. As simple as that. Now let's see what we can do to make it better. Let me remove this. Yeah, now we have no errors here. What I would do is I would comment out this section which we have already seen, so we don't have lots of clutter while running the program again. If you noticed here in this anonymous inner class implementation, the new animal is, these wordings are kind of faded since I'm using Java 8. So Java 8 is suggesting me to already use the Lambda. And this is what I have done in my next statement. So I'm printing run using Lambda, and I'm again calling make it run here. Make it run is the same method. It takes an object of type animal, but this time I'm not using a concrete class. I'm not using an anonymous inner class. I'm using something called Lambda expression. So whatever you see within make it run argument is the Lambda expression, and this expression is nothing but the implementation of animal interface. So instead of writing all of this boilerplate code, new animal, parenthesis, brackets, override, method name, method implementation, we have a simple statement here under the method parenthesis of make it run, which is small brackets here, hyphen arrow, system.out.println, and then whatever you want to print. I have tried to make it easier, so the implementation is only the print statement. We could make it as complicated as we want, but let's try to understand what's happening in this Lambda expression. So we have two parts here. We have arrow, we have left hand side, and then we have right hand side. So what you see on the left hand side is the argument of the method. Now make it run takes an argument of type animal, but this itself does not take any argument for the method run now per se, because run now itself does not take any argument. And this is the reason what we have here is on the left hand side is empty parenthesis, because run now method does not take any argument, and on the right hand side we have the implementation for run now. So very simple one-liner statement for this ugly anonymous inner class. And this is what Lambda is all about. This is the implementation of interface using an expression which is known as Lambda expression. Very simple expression here, because as I said before, run now method in animal interface does not take any argument. Let's try to run this. I would comment out the rest of the lines to make it easy. Let's comment out these lines. Run using Lambda till here. Everything fine. Yep, no error. So let's run it again. I'll say Shift N. Yeah. So if you see here, first we have anonymous inner class invocation. We have seen this before. It says, yeah, nothing new. I don't have a body, but I run fast. And then we have next print statement which says run using Lambda. And then it says, I was powered using Lambda run, which means that this method was invoked. Let me print these statements here, which would make it easier to distinguish it. Yes, so if I run it once again, the first print is using anonymous inner class, and second is using the Lambda, which is nothing but the implementation of animal interface. I'm repeating the same line again and again to make it easier to understand, to have it ingrained to our minds that Lambda is nothing but the implementation of the interface. Now let's try to complicate it a bit. So far, our run now method in animal interface does not take any argument. But what if it takes argument? What happens there? So let me comment out this part, and let's see the next set of statements now. I will remove the comment section here from here as well. So what I have done here is I have created another method called make it run with given speed, which is also invoked on animal example class. So we have seen make it run method. Now we will see another method, make it run with given speed. But what make it run with given speed does, it takes a different types of interface argument. It takes animal having method arguments, and it also takes the speed. So let us see what is our new interface here. The new interface is again another functional interface which has, well, obviously just one abstract method because it is functional interface, and then it takes an argument here of type speed. This is something different in comparison to what we saw with animal interface. Here run now method did not have an argument, and here run now with given speed takes an argument which is a speed. So that's the difference. Now let's go back to our example and see what we are doing here. So now let's try to, call method make it run with given speed from the main method, which takes an argument of type animal having method argument, and we pass a speed to it. So to simplify it, or to, let's say, bloat it, we would first do the anonymous inner class invocation. How we do that? We will say another example, the instance we declared before, and then we invoke our method call make it run now with given speed, and we know that within parentheses we can define our anonymous inner class. So this is another anonymous inner class, the same syntax, new class name parentheses opening braces closing braces, and then we override the method call run now with given speed. We saw this before. If I place mouse here, yep, it says this is the method which is being implemented in anonymous inner class run now with given speed, and it takes an object of type speed here. And then what I do is I'm just concatenating the speed in my system.out.println statement. So this is where the method this is where the anonymous inner class ends, and then we have a comma, and then we pass the arguments of type speed. So let's try to understand it once again. So make it run with given speed takes what? It takes animal having method argument, which is implemented here using anonymous inner class, very bloated, very dirty example, comma, double speed, and we have passed 70.50 here. Now, this is the same thing which we can do using Lambda expressions. So let's see how we do that. Again, we call make it run with given speed using Lambda expression this time. And what we do here is, if we compare this with the previous run, we had something called parentheses on left hand side, arrow, and then implementation on the right hand side. This is more or less the same syntax. We have argument on the left hand side which goes in the parentheses. We can also write it in parentheses. I have just not surrounded this with parentheses here, arrow, and then on the right hand side we have the implementation, and the implementation was nothing but system.out.println, where we are printing the speed. And then since make it run with given speed takes two argument, the another argument is speed, which you see as 70.50. So the first argument is lambda, which is implementation for animal having method argument, and the second argument is the speed itself. That's all, as simple as that. Let's try to run this, but before that, let me comment out the other part so it makes it easier for us to see what's going on. So I will do shift 10 again. Yep. So you see there are multiple print statements here. The first one is one more anonymous inner class invocation. Control comes here, control goes here, then it goes with run now with given speed, and then it ends up printing I run using given argument with the speed whichever is passed, and the speed is 70.50 here. And this is another print statement, but this time we are using the lambda expression. We again call the make it run with given speed. This whole statement from speed till end here is the implementation this time. Very simple, no bloated anonymous inner class declaration is required. So this line is printed now. It says I run using given argument, and this is 70.50, and this time we have used lambda. Simple, isn't it? So let's see what we can do more, how we can make it more complicated. So let me remove the comment from here, and let's comment the rest of the part which we have till here, so it does not clutter it when we run it next time. So what we will do now is let us make it a bit complicated, we would implement our method with some more print statements, and we would use some curly brackets and some small brackets and so on. So let's see here. The next statement uses lambda again, but this is going to run twice, as in this is going to print twice, not run twice. Let me change it to print here. So another animal example, which is the instance which we created before, and then we say make it run with given speed. Again, the syntax remains same. Left hand side of the arrow is going to have the argument. So argument is the speed here. And the right hand side is going to contain the implementation. And this is the implementation in the curly braces here. And here we have print statement two times. One, we are printing I run using given argument, which is the speed. Speed is 70.50. And then again, we are printing it, but this time with double speed. So I just multiply speed with 2. It would be very easy to understand this if we just see the declaration using make it run with given speed. So it takes two arguments. One is animal having method argument object, which is declared using lambda expression, which you see till end of the curly bracket and the comma where my cursor is blinking right now. And the second argument is the speed, which you see as 70.50. So let's try to run it. Yeah. So if you see this now, we have this also uses lambda and is going to print twice, is being printed here. And this is the first print statement, which is I run using given argument, which is 70.50. And second is I'm running again with double the speed, which is 70.50 multiplied by 2. Simple, isn't it? This may not sound simple if you are using or you have not seen lambda expression before. It was actually quite difficult for me to understand these use cases as well. I studied them again and again. The more you study, more you practice, more you master it. So if you find it a bit confusing, you can try some more examples, try it yourself, and you would master it, I'm very sure. Moreover, I'm going to commit all of this code, and I'm going to link my GitHub account on the description of this video, so you can just download it and try it out yourself. Let's see what we can see next on the training session for today. So we have seen functional programming interface having method with no argument. We saw this. We also saw interface having method with one argument. Yeah, now let's see what happens if our animal having method argument or another animal method has two abstract methods. What happens in that case? So let me do one thing. Let me first bring back all of our code base. If I could, let's see if this works. Okay, no error, everything is fine. So let us go back to the animal interface, and we said this is functional interface. This is not mandatory to declare it as functional interface. We can also just remove it. It's just an information for compiler that there should be only one abstract method. Now let us declare another abstract method here. Run now new. And well, run now new is not implemented by anyone, so it says it's never used, but this is not an error. And now if we go back to our example here, we will begin to see some errors. So this is an error here. Yep, you see here there is an error with the lambda, because lambda can only be written when we have interface as functional interface. That is, we should have only one abstract method, and now we have two abstract methods. So now compiler doesn't know which method we are wanting to implement, and this is why we have this error. So remember, functional interface is essential to be able to implement lambda, and functional interface is an interface wherein we would have only one abstract method. Let me go back and remove this and make our animal example happy. But why are we reading all of this? Why are we learning this? And this is the next agenda point, which is what is going to be the next. So in the next couple of sessions, I would explain how these concepts can be used with Selenium. We can let's see a small example in this session, as well as to what is going to come in the future sessions. So I have a class here called Selenium with Java 8, which has a method called using Java 8. This uses nothing but the registration page we have seen many times. And I have declared a method on this registration page class, which is get all text field. Very simple method. It just returns us the, all of the elements which are of type text. So we say driver.find elements by CSS selector input type text. By the way, if you're new to Selenium, then again, this is not the right tutorial for you. I'm going to link my Selenium training session also on the description of the ticket. So please start there. All right, so we have a method here called get all text fields to get all of the text field, and then we invoke it here. Now, if we were not using Lambda and if we wanted to, print all the values, say, for example, attributes of all of the text fields, what we would do, we would write for each loop something like for web element input elements, and then we would print web element dot get attribute value. But with Lambda, we don't have to write for loop like this because we have something called for each method. So what we do here is we collect the input elements, and then on the next few lines, I say input elements. In Java 8, we have something called for each method. I'm going to invoke for each method. For each method takes consumer object, which is, if you see here, consumer, which is a functional interface, and we know that it can have only one void, not void, only one abstract method, which means only one method without implementation. So we can apply Lambda here, and how we apply Lambda here is, since this does not take any argument, this takes an argument, so we can pass element as in web element to this, and we can carry out our operations on this web element. So let me go back to Selenium with Java 8 example. For each, what I have to do here is I have to, create Lambda expression for consumer object here, which is as simple as we saw it before. Before the arrow, we are going to have the argument, and after the arrow, we are going to have the implementation. Earlier, we were just doing system.out.println, and here what I'm doing, I should still do system.out.println, otherwise nothing would be printed. So let me change it to system.out.println. Yep. Oops. Yep. Why is it throwing an error? Because yep, now we have correct number of parentheses, small brackets, and it would work now. So here, for each takes consumer object, and it has a method called accept, which takes an argument, and the argument is nothing but the web element here. And what we are doing here is left hand side goes the web element, right hand side goes the implementation, and we are printing the attribute value, similar to what we were doing here. We can as well, do it using anonymous inner class. So we can do something like this. I go here, and yep. So you see, IntelliJ suggests me to implement it like this. Anyway, so I don't have to write all of this. It says new consumer, which is of type web element, override. What does it override? We saw consumer functional interface has accept method, which takes an argument. So here the argument is of type web element, and this is the method which is being implemented, and I can write all of this here. So system.out.println goes here. So it's the same invocation, but instead of using Lambda, we are using anonymous inner class. So let's get rid of this. This is really dirty code. And let's continue using Lambda here, and using Lambda we can print. So let me run this. To run this, I need to change the configuration. Yep, I'll take my test.xml file. Let's say okay. Yep, and let me run it. I should launch the registration form on Chrome. It did that, and it's got over. So let's see what is printed here. So it has printed the attribute value 2 times. Once is using Lambda, and once without Lambda, which is here, and with Lambda, which is here. This is very simple exercise. We are just printing something, but this is not what we would usually do with Selenium. We may collect lots of elements, then we can filter out some elements, then we apply some map on it, then we find first element and so on. So Lambda can get pretty complicated, but this is not part of this session. We would see this in future sessions. So this was all about a small introduction of Java 8 and Lambda expressions and a sneak peek of what we would see in the future sessions. If you like this video, if you find it educational, then please hit the like button, and see you in next session. Have fun and stay safe. Bye bye.